Welcome to the Double R Diner.
Welcome to Rejected Religion Patreon Tier 4, the Double R Diner. I am joined today by with my guest Ninian Nijhuis. We're going to be talking about astrology today, and not just any old astrology. We're going to be talking about sidereal astrology. And so I'd like to welcome you first, Ninian, before we just jump in with both feet.
Thank
Welcome
you.
back. It's very good to have you here.
Happy to be
Um,
here.
I'm very excited about this because I think it's been about a month ago now that we met and you did a reading for me,
Yes.
and I found that to be not only very interesting, but also very insightful, very helpful. Gave me a lot to think about, a lot to chew on, as they say. So I thought to myself, might be fun to have you come on and talk about what a natal chart is and kind of walk through the process of how you go about putting one together and what all the little elements are that you that make up a natal chart. But before we get into that, I think it's probably good to clarify. As I said earlier, you're using the sidereal system. Is it called a system? Is it called a method? I'm not quite certain about the terminology.
Yeah, it's called sidereal astrology. It's
Okay.
it's the kind of the method of calculation.
Okay.
that you-
So it's a
yeah.
method instead of a system. Okay. Most people in the West, if they are familiar with astrology, they're most likely familiar with the tropical system that that we're generally seeing in on websites. I think like nowadays it seems like there are a lot of popular YouTube channels and TikTok people talking about astrology. I see it on Instagram as well, and if I'm not mistaken, those people are probably using the tropical system, unless they
Yeah.
specifically say. So, uh, if you could talk a little bit first about what the difference is between the two systems and where the sidereal method, where this method originated, and why it is that you choose to use the sidereal method.
Yeah, sure. So, the big difference is the way you calculate the position of the stars.
Okay.
So, you have, well, within the West, you have two ways of doing it. There is the oldest method, which is using the stars to, for instance, using Spica, the star, as a way of calculating every other planet, like in relation to that star.
Okay.
Then you also have a way of kind of calculating the positions with the vernal equinox, like the first day of spring.
All right.
Basically looking at what is on the horizon, and then from that moment, like from that point, you calculate all the other positions.
Okay.
Both ways. So it's actually funny, but so like the second way, the tropical system is uses that vernal point as the first degree of Aries.
Okay.
And so basically the first day of spring is the first grade 0 Aries. And then from that point, like the zodiac is placed on that point, and from then everything is calculated. With the star, you actually do the same thing. The big difference is that if you would now look at where the first day of spring, where that point is in the constellations, it would have been in Pisces. And so both systems, they are basically based on observation. Like when the tropical system was developed by Ptolemy, he also looked at what was on the horizon on the first days of spring. And at that point, it was like 1 degree Aries. But the only thing he didn't know, you could say that he knew that there was something funny happening with the zodiac and going backwards. But there are a lot of theories, and I don't think we can ever know the real reason for sure because it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
But that vernal point, it shifts, like, or as at least the zodiac shifts. And with the stars, it stays the same. Like a star is very static. I think it will move a degree in 20,000 years.
Okay.
So within our lifetimes and basically the entirety of human history, that it would just be basically static. And so with sidereal, you use the star, which is basically static, and with tropical, you use the vernal point. And so you can use that, but the thing is, astronomically, we're looking at a different picture than we were 2,000 years ago. But the tropical system uses those seasonal positions like they were kind of theorized 2,000 years ago.
Okay.
So they still have correlation to the seasons because first vernal equinox, it's still the first day of spring. But it's not astronomically, the foundation isn't astronomical anymore.
Right. Okay, so the sidereal is an older method.
Yes.
And that's using the star that is a static point. And that makes it then, in the opinion of the sidereal astrologist, more accurate because the way that the heavens look are basically unchanged in this long time period that a star will stay in the same spot.
Yeah. So, and I mean, with accuracy, I mean, personally, as a sidereal astrologer, I would say the sidereal system is more accurate because I'm familiar with it. I've tested it.
Right.
Like, there are some things you could say for the tropical system, especially realizing that it's still seasonal. So there's still some, if we take up the properties of our surroundings, then the seasons would still have an impact. But it just doesn't have the same physical or astronomical foundations that you would have with sidereal astrology.
Okay. So,
it's also still used in the East. In India, a lot of the astrology there is sidereal. They call it differently. They call it Vedic astrology mostly.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, it's very old. It dates back to, I think it is the second millennial BC. And it was basically, it's from Babylonian. That's also why some astrologers would call Babylonian astrology.
Okay. So we're talking about ancient stuff here.
Very old, yes.
I don't know if this is a valid question or not, but if you're looking at the idea of correspondences, this Platonic idea of the great chain of being that we find in Hermetic texts, esoteric texts, talking about how as above, so below, and all this, these ideas that we find within alchemy and Hermeticism and other esoteric streams. Does the sidereal method, does this have more of a connection to this idea, this concept of what's happening in the heavens is reflecting on us, on the people who are living on the earth? More? Is there more of this idea involved in this than there is with the tropical method?
It depends on how you look at it.
Of course.
Because also, with this whole talk, I don't want to, to say it plainly, shit on tropical astrologers.
No, not at all.
No, but from my own perspective, how I see it for sure, the whole thing of as above, so below, and the chain of being, that there's order in the universe. Yeah, all of that you find back in astrology. It's reflected in there. There's one of the things that attracted me to astrology is that it's so big. It's kind of a crossroads of a lot of those esoteric and hermetic ideas of mythology, like a little bit of science with the astronomy and like the mathematics of it all, but also like intuition and interpretation and kind of, you know, placing characteristics and properties and all of that to certain things. Well, they did a natural magic as well. With plants stand for this and this and this and this. We do the same thing with the planets. So that's definitely there. And within astrology, it's not necessarily, you shouldn't look at it through like cause and effect, I think.
Okay.
I think it's more of a mirroring or like by analogy,
Right. Okay.
how the things are connected. So as above, so below, in a sense of like the above isn't causing the below, but it's just as.
Right. Right.
When I then apply that to either the sidereal or the tropical system, I would say that if you really look at kind of the physical side of things, so the fact that we have planets in the sky, and also if you ascribe the zodiac signs as coming from their constellations, then the sidereal system would be more accurate in that view, because sidereal astrology still kind of looks at the constellations, for instance, like Taurus, like that kind of star system, and says that is a sign of Taurus. And of course, like some signs are bigger than others, like Aries is very small. But, and of course, like the 30 degrees, like it overlaps a little bit, but it's as close to what we can see as possible.
Okay.
There is also true sidereal astrology, which I personally, I'm not a practitioner of, but that looks really at kind of how big are the actual star constellations. So it applies like bigger parts of the zodiac belt to some signs and smaller ones to others. I don't personally use that method because I think it makes more sense to have the 30-degree division given like opposites, and with also mathematically kind of trying to connect. Because otherwise, like you could have an Aries and have the opposite, like the exact opposite of that, not being in being in Libra, but in the sign next to it.
Okay. So it makes the mathematic a little more tricky.
Yeah, and principally, if you apply principles, like the hermetic principles, they fit, in my opinion, better with sidereal, with the sidereal zodiac that I practice.
Okay. So that means that each zodiac sign gets the same amount of space, degrees, as
30,
you were.
30, 30, 30,
Yeah.
30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Times 12. Yeah.
So in this system then, because I've learned from you that the signs that most people know, their sun sign, and they also have a rising and a moon and a Venus and all of those things. And I learned from you that what I thought were my moon and rising and sun, some of them were still the same, but other were very different. So I found out that my moon was actually not in Taurus as I thought it was within the tropical system, but in the sidereal system, I believe it's in Virgo, if I'm not mistaken.
In Aries.
In Aries. See, I told you I got it wrong. So, okay, because, all right, this makes more sense now that
Because it goes one
because it goes one house or one sign backwards. Okay.
Yeah. So actually to make that clear, like, so basically I give myself as an example. I was born on the 4th of January.
Okay.
So in the tropical system, that would make me a Capricorn.
Right. Okay.
But so it is that if I was born 2,000 years ago, the sun would have actually been in the sign of Capricorn when the tropical system was like kind of was made or was popularized or was by patonymy, it would have been in Capricorn. But what I did also to test it for myself, because I was struggling at one point going from tropical to sidereal and being like, huh,
Yeah.
what's going on here?
Right.
So I have this little app on my phone that basically, you can hold your phone up and it shows you exactly where all the planets are,
Uh-huh.
where you're standing. So
Yeah.
you can, if you see a star, you can basically just check what it is or a
Uh-huh.
planet. And so you can also go back in time in the app.
Right. Oh yeah, I know this. I know this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I stood in my hometown where I was born, and I went back to 4th of January, 1994, and I looked at where the sun would have been, and it was like in the middle of Sagittarius. But not only my sun was in the middle of Sagittarius, also Venus, Mercury, Mars, Neptune, and Uranus.
Wow.
A lot of planets. And then I looked at Capricorn, which is like, just like move backwards, and it was empty. So I was like,
Okay.
that's interesting.
Okay.
So
Go ahead. Please continue.
yeah, so there's a 25, almost 25-degree shift in relation to when the tropical system was given birth to.
Okay. Right.
So there are some people who are in that 5-degree overlap that are still the same sign.
Yes, because I'm still
But
Pisces sun.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
And I'm still Virgo ascendant. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I think, wait, let me check because I have it here.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were really on the cusp between like Leo and Virgo.
That's what it was, Leo and Virgo. See,
Yeah.
I forget all this stuff very quickly. I have to go back and look at all my notes again. I should have done that before. I should have done a little bit better preparation.
I have it.
You got it.
Okay.
You got it. Anyway, okay. So when people are trying to determine what their sidereal placements would be, are there like nowadays handy little, you can just Google it, you can find out what your placements would be, or do you have to go to a sidereal astrologer for this?
No, there are calculators online.
Okay, so it's easy peasy now. You can figure this out, no problem. Okay.
Yeah. If you would Google sidereal birth chart calculator or something like that, I'm sure you'll find it. On Astrodienst,
Yeah.
that's like a very popular. I use it myself.
Okay.
I have my database on there. That one is nice because there's a lot of like, if you want to go a little bit deeper into it, if you want to kind of figure out stuff, then that's really cool because there's a lot of features.
Okay.
But then you could just basically go into settings, and for the, let me just check it for you. There is if you then go into zodiac and houses with the settings, you can go there. There's like a thing, it's called Ayanamsha.
Okay.
And I use Fagan and Bradley, but there you can use the method of like the Ayanamsha is kind of what point you use to calculate everything from.
Okay.
Really, I use Fagan and Bradley for that.
Right. Okay.
But you can use like the Vedic way is called Lahiri Ayanamsha. Like there's a lot of one, and then you have also just the normal, the tropical one. I think it's called.
Right. And referencing Fagan and Bradley, this for Tier 4 members who have taken advantage of the free RENCEP membership, you can go to RENCEP and read Ninian's article, their blog article about Babylonian astrology. And you're referencing Cyril Fagan here, I'm assuming, with the Fagan and Bradley system, right?
And you can also just go into my academia page.
It's also there
also
too. There. Okay. All right. Yeah. Let me make little notes of all of this so I can add this into the program notes for the replay people. All right. So everybody can figure this out, and it's still with the same birthplace, birth time. That's all. That's not changed. So people can just figure this out if they have all of that information, then they can find out for themselves. Okay. All
And
right.
the chart is the same.
Right.
The only difference that there is that you'll see if you compare your tropical chart to your sidereal chart is that the ring, which is basically the zodiac belt, it's just flipped a
Shifted.
little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just shift.
All right. So we've already we've already mentioned natal chart here. Um, maybe we can use a visual here that we can look at it while you're talking through this whole thing. What what do you mean with natal chart for people who are just like I have no idea what this is all about? What is a natal chart? What is it made up of? How does it work?
So a natal chart is basically a snapshot of the sky at the moment that you were born. So it's like the moment you were born, there's like how every planet was standing in the heaven or in the heavens or in the sky or that's how it looks.
Okay.
So it basically it shoots a picture of how it shows where the moon was, where the sun was, where every other planet was in the constellations at the time that you were born.
All right. So if we can bring up my natal chart then here and put that on the screen.
Yeah.
So this is the snapshot of the sky
When you were
when
born.
I was born.
And so yeah. So basically this is, can you also see my cursor?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So here I'm like this circle within a little circle is your sun sign. So, and you can basically see that this big line in the middle, that's the horizon. And so all of these planets were above the horizon, were like actually in the sky when you were born. And then these were all like under the horizon.
Okay.
And I also believe that because you were born 5 to 6 p.m. Or 10 to 6 p.m. So were you born in like the evening? So you see that the sun was almost
under the
going,
horizon. Yeah.
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 And then for instance, your moon was in Aries. And then your ascendant was right here. It was like on the cusp between Leo and Virgo. And all these lines are basically the aspects that every planet makes to each other. So you have the blue lines, which means easygoing aspects and like harmonious aspects. They tell you something about your strengths and your talents and like what flows easily. And then the red ones are more of like tension, challenging aspects that may need some work, they're like little hurdles and challenges that you need to overcome.
Right. Lots of those there.
Yeah, but you have a good mix of the reds and the blues. Actually, the thing is that having a chart with only blue lines is actually not even that preferable, because it means that everything in your life is just coming easy, which can be pretty boring at one point. You need a little bit of like, because spice. It means, yes, if you want to grow, I mean, we're kind of evolved, like, even animals, like we're kind of used to take the path of least resistance because we want to survive.
Right.
And so we need things to push us if we want to learn, if we want to grow. And so, yeah, we need that, kick under our asses.
Kick in the pants, right? Okay, so with sidereal, looking at the chart here, you have 12 houses or 12 little pie slices here because you have 12 signs in the zodiac. So where do you start? Like, what is the first house? Where is that located?
So that is here.
Okay, so it's the first little triangle under the horizon on the left side. Okay.
And so also for people who don't know any that much of astrology, like everything within the circle is the same, whether it's tropical or sidereal. All the aspects that they're making, like the lines, that's exactly the same if you have a tropical chart.
Okay.
So that is also like aspects work in both signs, like in both systems. It's like the only difference is that like this ring shifts.
Okay. So the
So
outer ring
yeah,
where the symbols are for the
yeah.
planets
So
or
there
the
is
signs.
still overlap. If you have
Okay.
a tropical chart reading, you will hear some of the same things you will get in a sidereal reading. It's just
Okay.
when we're working with the signs, things start to differ a little bit.
Differ a little bit. Okay. So the first house, then, what does that represent in the chart?
It represents the self. It could also represent your birth because like the first like kind of moments of your life, like time wise, this whole kind of moving through the houses can be moving through your life, literally and figuratively, in a sense of like this is when you're born and the 12th house is when you die. So it's like, because it's the sun going one entire circle, that's also kind of represents a life in
Okay.
itself. Like you're in the dawn of your life,
Mm-hmm.
or you're in the dusk of your life,
Okay.
like kind of
Right.
this thing.
Right.
So the first house is the self. It's like
Very
an
clear.
Aries house because that's like the first house in Aries because that's the first that was considered the first sign of the all the 12. That is something that is actually still used in sidereal astrology, even though I mean, what is to say which is the first sign? Because if we don't use the tropical system, but
Right.
there's still
So
mystery.
the beginning of the zodiac is considered starting with Aries and ending with Pisces.
Yeah,
Yeah.
within that's still used within the system.
Yeah.
It's just,
Okay.
but it's something that I often wonder about if we are using the sidereal system and there is not really a beginning because Pisces would be the beginning because
Right.
we're now the era of Pisces.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't have all the answers.
Okay. Right.
But it doesn't matter.
No.
First house is the house of self. It's about like me, me, me. It's everything that has to do with it's your appearance. It's how your body like looks, your physical kind of exterior.
Okay.
Then we have the second house, which is the house of values and resources. So it tells you something about like how you want to go through life. It's like the values and resources that you are instilled. So you first learn to say thank you and to say to all those things that make you basically your value system.
Right. Okay.
Has also something to do with your resources and in how much like did you grow up with a little bit or a lot? Like what were your resources? But it also reflects later in life, like what are your resources? Do you have a lot of money, a little money, like, and also mental resources? Like, do you
Okay.
have a lot to and also your values, because if you have values of strength and you want to pull through things, that's a big resource you can use
Right. Okay.
going through difficult things, for instance. Then the third house is house of siblings and house of communications. It's basically when we learn to talk as well as how we communicate. It's also the house of like research and writing, reading. It's a very mental house, and it can be also signify siblings.
Okay.
Then the fourth house is the house of family. It's a house of ancestral roots, and also the house of the home. So it represents your home and your family, whether that is the family you create or the family you come from. Like, for instance, I have my sun in that house, as well as a lot of other planets, signifying that home is very important to me. My family is very important to me. I've always been obsessed with where I come from, like ethnicity and all of that. So that's something that's like very to that house.
Okay. And my planet there is That's Jupiter, right?
Jupiter.
So what
Yeah.
does that mean? Just as a little factoid.
That there's a lot of learning there. There's it can also signify some luck. But also you have a few like red lines, so it might sometimes also be a little bit of struggle, but you learn a lot from it.
Right.
There's a lot of growth, a lot of
Okay.
expansion in that house. So with family, that could be like having a kind of a big learning curve in a sense of like it's always developing and growing
Yeah.
and in the end like that you can extract benefit from that because Jupiter is a lucky planet.
Yeah.
It's the great benevolent.
Yes. So this is good.
Mhm.
Okay. So fifth house.
But there's also there because that's the incredible thing about astrology. There's negative and positive sides to everything. So it's
Yes.
really about like how you interpret it and how you look at it and perspective.
Yeah. How you
Like
use
and
it.
also Jupiter is about perspective. So
Okay.
it can teach you how to look at things differently or to see the
Yeah.
big picture or to all of that.
Okay.
Then the fifth house is the creative house. It's like the, kind of joy, children, creativity, romance. It's very Leo informed. So it's like Leo is very a sign of like joy and being in the spotlight and showing your creative talent and children and all of that. So it's our fruits basically of our creative juices.
All right.
Then the sixth house is the house of jobs, health, service. So it's our daily routines, daily life, like what we do, like chores and jobs, but also our health, because our health is also um, a big basically how we do our daily routines has a lot of effect on our health. So in that way, it yeah, it fits. It's a lot about physical life, like your physical body,
Okay.
what you do in the world, being of service, doing things that are efficient and that have use, like being useful.
So what is it like for this particular house? I don't see any planets in this house. What does that mean when you don't have any planets in the house?
Well, it doesn't mean that there's nothing going on. It just means that there are not any
Certainly alive
planetary.
still.
I mean, you have vertex, which is a point
Okay.
there. I work more with vertex in like synastry charts, like between people. I don't know actually, because vertex always goes around this, like it's either in the eighth, the seventh, or the sixth house. So, which is kind of like all the houses that have to do also with other people, like
Okay.
relationships. So I don't know exactly what that would mean for a personal personal chart, but the thing is, it's like it actually, what's already important is what sign is in that house. Like for you, that's Aquarius, meaning that, in this, so you're having like this physical house, like of routines and health and jobs and like all of that. And then you have very eccentric sign. So there's some interesting, this is an interesting combination of like probably doing routines and caring for your health, but maybe going about it in a different way or having like your own way of doing that. Maybe to other people, it's a little bit odd or like whatever. It's like maybe a little different or progressive, just like very future oriented. So, yeah, but so that's still the influence
Okay, so
of how
if you don't have the planets in that house, it does. There's still in the outer ring the planet that is the is that what they call it, the ruler of the house? Then is that what that's called?
Yeah, that would be the yeah, it's more like you have rulers of a chart.
Yeah.
Because for instance, with you, it's Leo, so your sun is the ruler of your chart. But basically, if you want to interpret that house, you look at the sign.
Okay, so it's not the
If
ruler
you,
of the house, it's the sign of the house.
yeah, it's
Okay.
because that energy is infusing that house.
Okay, so you can look at it in other ways as well. I'm just trying to, for other people who might be looking at their own chart and they're like, oh, well, what does this mean? If there's nothing there, then they can look at whatever sign is in that house and also then glean insights
Yeah.
from that as well, as you just explained. Okay.
Yeah, they could just Google, if just like really plainly Google Aquarius in the sixth house,
Hmm.
and then you will find,
All
a
the
lot of interesting.
characteristics of that.
Yeah.
Right. Good.
And so for you, that would even be because Aquarius is also about science and eccentricity. So like your job, like the jobs that you do and being of service is just sharing like eccentric
Yeah.
things that is still kind of scientifically grounded because you studied it,
Yeah.
is like giving that to the world.
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
It fits.
Then the
Okay.
seventh house,
Yes.
which is a very important house in your chart because your sun is there. It's a
Mm.
house of relationships and partnerships. Um, it's basically your relation to the other. So it's a one-on-one relationships, whether that be romantic or business-like, that doesn't really matter, but it means that your whole identity is there. And so it's very important for you to meet others, be in relationships, like have partnerships, because it's a lot of that you get to know who you are. You can relate to yourself and get to know who you are by using people as mirrors. And for everybody, that is kind of true in a way. But for suns in the seventh house, that takes on like an extra level. Like having conversations, like really having that as a big focus in your life. What you're doing with a podcast, for example.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, is is kind of a way of looking at that. And you have Pisces there. And then Pisces again, like mystical, spiritual, and empathetic, like compassionate. So it's like looking for connection
Right.
everywhere. Because there is
Yep.
because maybe you feel like there is everything is connected.
Yeah.
And um,
Super interesting stuff. So for other people who might have the sun in a different house, uh, it's same thing. They can look up sun in, say it would be in Cancer. They could look up sun in
yeah.
Cancer and then find
Or
out
sun in the seventh house, or sun in the fourth house. In
fourth
my
house.
case,
Right.
like
Okay.
12th house, everything. Yeah.
Okay. So when to go back before about saying the ruler, because I used the wrong term. I'm going to jump ahead because my next question is about terminology within astrology. What does the ruler of your chart? What does that mean? Because okay, so the sun. Let's say you said the ruler of my chart was
The
in
sun
the sun, but
for
then you said
you.
something about Leo.
So your ascendant is just in Leo. It's like by a hair
Hmm.
because if you were yeah, because it's like it's 29 and a half degrees. Um no, actually more than that even because it's minutes. So
Yeah,
you're very close to Virgo, but just by looking at it like,
little
uh,
hair.
yeah. So but it is kind of Leo, so because it's your ascendant is technically in Leo. Um then that would mean the planet that rules Leo is the sun. And so the first where your ascendant is in your chart, like that sign, the ruler of that sign is the ruler of your chart.
Okay, so could we say then that the ascendant is the ruler of the chart or not?
The um planet that is associated with the sign on the ascendant is the ruler of your chart.
Okay. So for me, I'm kind of caught in this limbo between Leo and Virgo.
So
even
that
though,
would mean probably that like both Mercury and the Sun are very prominent planets.
okay, so, right. So this is, okay. Still, I'm still getting used to all of this stuff. So,
And so for you, it wouldn't really matter that much because like both your Mercury and your Sun are in the same sign. But it just adds more significance to those planets.
right. So looking just more in general, each and taking away all the signs that you see here in the chart in each house, each planet also, or sorry, each sign also has a planet associated with it. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you can also look at, um, like you just explained, looking here on the left side of the circle, Leo and Virgo. Leo is Sun and Virgo is Mercury, as you said.
Mhm.
So you can then also look at these characteristics of the signs with the planet that is associated with the sign. So that's another layer that you can look at.
There are a lot of layers.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Just trying to get like an idea of like peeling back all the layers of the onion to see how deep you can actually go into looking at all the different characteristics of each sign in the planets within the sign, the planet that rules the sign, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Yeah.
okay.
So, I mean, the thing is with rulers, with like, it's not super important if you're beginning.
Okay.
I think that's really a layer that comes after.
Okay.
But I mean, it is kind of true what you said is like they're also house rulers. Like for instance, for the sixth house, the house ruler, because being like Aquarius being there, um, actually, I'm gonna. So with you, it's really funny because you are so because it looks like the first house is Virgo,
Yeah.
but because you were born on this cuspy, so you were 29th Leo, technically. Um, but actually, this would be interesting for me to test because I would say that even argue that because most of this house is kind of in Virgo, that maybe you could get away with saying Mercury is the ruler of that house. Because there are house rulers that would be like where, for instance, your second house is still within Libra, planet that's associated with Libra is Venus. So it means that Venus is ruling over that house. And then you could look at where Venus is, and that would have some effect on it. The big thing, like the specifics of this, it's pretty advanced. And I could look into that, but I would need to do my research.
Okay. All right.
Because that's the funny thing about astrology. I've been doing this for a long time now. I'm still a student. I'm forever going to be a student. Like this is complicated
Yes.
stuff,
Very much so.
which makes it very interesting, but also,
Yeah, there's so many different, as I said, there's so many different layers that you can actually focus on. Each thing, there's a different thing here. Okay, so we had stopped in seventh house.
Yeah.
So the eighth
seventh
house.
Then you have the eighth house. The eighth house is the house of death, sex, and regeneration. It's also the house of other people's money and inheritances. It's like the opposite of the second house, which is about your own resources and your own values. The eighth house is other people's money, other people's resources, inheritances, like gaining those assets through death or I wouldn't say marriage, but like sex, maybe. So it's like, and it's also the taboo realm.
Okay.
It's like the house of taboos. That's also why death and sex, they're both taboos. A lot of people find it very difficult to talk about it.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to talk about sex. A lot of people don't want to talk about money, especially other people's money. So it's all of those things that are taboo. Your moon is there, meaning you love that stuff. In a sense of like taboos is also the occult, witchcraft,
Yeah.
Like everything that's been ostracized by our civilizations is fits in that house. So being interested, being intrigued, being like, ooh, that's interesting because it's like forbidden
Mm-hmm.
or it's not allowed. That is, your moon being there is like your mind is just curious.
Yes, very much
Like an
so.
attraction.
Actually, this is making me think of what Dr. Peter Forshaw had told me when I was still studying, talking about astrological natal charts. That in the past, in the time of Elizabeth I, that this was like secret stuff. You didn't want anybody to know this stuff about you
Oh
because
yeah.
they could use this against you. They could manipulate you. And espionage, all this kind of stuff in the political realm. This could be very sensitive, dangerous information to allow to leak outside that other people would know this
Yeah.
stuff about you. So I find this to be very interesting.
Yeah, which is funny to me too, because like I mean personally as an astrologer, um like I would never use anybody else's chart but myself to, or the person's chart if they allow me to show something. Because in this day and age, like a lot of people are like, whatever, it's bullshit anyways. Like, I have my
Yeah,
birth
they don't
chart.
put a lot of
Like,
stock in it, so who
you know,
cares? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But for me, it's like it's a big deal because you're
yeah.
giving me a view into who you operate, how you operate, who you are. Like, and of course, like a chart is still like I always see like the chart is one thing, and then when I meet the other person, I'm talking with the other person, that person fills in that chart as well because there's so many things to it. I could read a chart cold and still be pretty accurate, of course, but you can really, really get accurate if you're using it as a tool in conversation. And so, like, to me, I'm like, well, do you want to? Because, and they don't think that it's something like, they're not giving. There was like, well, I'm not giving you my passport or whatever. But to me, there's a responsibility there.
Yeah.
Because like they do, they're showing me something that,
Hmm. Yeah, if you understand how to interpret it and read it,
yeah,
then yeah, you can come to some probably some major characteristics about a person through something like this.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's and if it's like it feels as an astrologer, it feels like you have this kind of client therapist relationship, as in like what we talk about will stay between us. Like
Right.
that's what was it? Client privilege, like therapist client privilege or
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that.
Doctor client,
Yeah.
therapist client. Yeah. Yeah. Doctor patient, I
Um,
should say. Yeah.
And I mean, with my own chart, I'm like, I don't have nothing to hide. Everybody can see it. Um, but yeah, I can believe like back in the day, if this stuff, if everybody would believe it, that would still probably be the case. It would
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
not everybody
Right.
would care it.
Okay, and another interesting thing here, now that I'm being so transparent about myself, that Venus and Mars are both in that house too. So this is kind of weird,
No,
right? That's Venus and Mars together, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
So it's the thing you get joy and pleasure out of, like being busy with those things, like um, you know, being a witch. Like it basically is kind of a sign of like the witch, like having your moon and your Venus, like everything you enjoy and are passionate about because and are driven by
Yeah,
probably figuring out secrets, wanting to get to the bottom of things,
yeah, yeah,
wanting to penetrate and like really see what's behind it. Why does it happen? How does it work? And really going beyond.
it's me to a T. Very, very okay. So, and then this house has Aries as well.
Yes. So that is like kind of which is interesting actually, because so the eighth house actually belongs to Scorpio, or Scorpio and the eighth house are kind of
Okay.
like they fit
Mm-hmm.
together.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Scorpio characteristics are kind of also, they fit within the eighth house persona or characteristics. And so originally, Scorpio was also ruled by Mars, and Aries is also ruled by Mars. So having Mars there is actually nice.
Right.
Because and with Aries being there, I have the same, because I have a Virgo ascendant, so we have the same kind of layover, like the houses and the signs are the same between you and me.
Interesting.
So there's a lot of energy within that house. So there's a lot of drive and energy, and like I want to know and I want to do, and maybe a little bit impulsive at times, but like really just because you want to know.
Oh yeah, I'll drop everything if I get super interested in something. I drop everything because I want to know, and then I'll just go deep dive into that, and I'll just leave everything else falls by the wayside because I am so focused on that thing that I want to learn about. So yeah,
and I think it could be a little bit obsessive with that, with like really, I have the same thing.
But also knowing then that the traditional ruler of that eighth house is Scorpio, then you can look at the relationship between Aries and Scorpio then to do like deeper exploration into what this means for me, and then other people can do the same thing for their own planet, whatever is there in that house for them in their chart.
Yeah, like for you, it would be looking at like, where is Aries? If Aries is there, so that means you look at Mars, not necessarily to Scorpio, but like, because the eighth house, if that would have been a sign, would have been Scorpio, and they're both. That's also Aries is the ruler of that. But nowadays we also use Pluto as a ruler of Scorpio. So, but in this case, like if you would want to look more into that house, like look at where which sign is in there. So the beginning of the sign. So that's basically this bar, this line. That's the entrance of the house, and that is in Aries, because it's just entered Aries.
Just over.
So that would mean that the ruler of that house is Mars. And if you look at your ruler, that's already
there
in Aries and in that house. So that to me just adds more momentum, more energy.
Intensifies it.
Yes.
All right. 9. Number 9.
So 9 is the house of life's philosophy, about philosophy, like higher education. That's basically kind of your academic education, like higher education, but also long distance traveling and like foreign languages and the sort. So a lot of that with the ninth house, a lot of those characteristics are also known to Sagittarius, because Sagittarius is about higher learning and long distance traveling, an adventure and philosophy. So I'm just saying that so that if you know all the signs, it's easier to remember the houses.
Yes.
Because each house corresponds to a sign.
Yeah.
And so the ninth house is long distance traveling, foreign languages, foreign cultures. What's my life's philosophy? Because that's something you learn about if you have all those other like cultures to like have contrasts. So to figure out, what do I do like, what do I don't like, and like build your own philosophy on top of that. Can also be spirituality and like religion, because those are also things that inform your life philosophy. Your belief system, you could also say.
Okay. Notice that Saturn is there.
Saturn is there. So that basically for me, that means that when you were going through your Saturn returns around your 30s, there was probably a bit of a crisis. Like, what's my life? Where am I going? What am I
Yeah.
doing?
Yep.
So it's like after your 30s, it means that because after your 30s, Saturn is activated. Or not after your 30s, after your 20s, going into your 30s is when you have your Saturn return. And so everything after that crystallizes because like Saturn is kind of a foundation builder. So before that, a lot of it is still kind of up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you go through that transition, it kind of the foundations will starting to be built. So with you was probably you needed until you were in your beginning of your 30s to like figure out what you wanted.